Ladies and gentlemen, this is your favorite show, Education Exchange. And tonight, we are so privileged to have Dr. Chace Ramey with us, one of the top leaders of the education system here. He doesn't like to say that, but I can do that because I don't work for him.
That is true.
So I'm not waiting for a pink slip tomorrow. Dr. Chace, we are so happy that you are leading what we call human resources and what I call human affection, because really human resources has gone as a philosophy beyond the paperwork and the red tape and the contract and the compensation into something has to do with how do we feel about kids, where our heart is in classrooms, and what do we do in order to improve our professional careers. And you are, I'm just trying to make it simple for the people, your position, I always say that if the superintendent is the president, you are the prime minister or the chief of staff. And that's a big task, because you probably know about the workers and the connection between you and them and how you can utilize them in the best possible way, more than anybody in the district, because you have you have interviewed them, and that's why I would like you tonight to shed some light upon the human side. I think you selected, as a matter of fact, the title of your show tonight, a face
Sure.
or a smile on human resources. So I want you to look at the camera and talk to our audience here. How do you vision your role as a leader of human resources in the district?
Well, first I want to say thank you for letting me come and spend the evening with you. It's a privilege to be here, and I really appreciate the service you provide for our community and for our district by hosting this show every week to get a better look at some of the things that are going on inside education. And I appreciate that was very high praise you gave me right off the top, but I really see what I do and really what we all do as part of the superintendent's cabinet as a leadership team. And I think that philosophy right there shapes kind of my approach to the district as a whole, but also to what I do in human resources. It's not about me having a siloed approach to just one avenue, just like it's not that way for our assistant superintendents or our CFO or our COO. I think we all work collectively as a team, as a unit, to move the district forward. And so we talk about the superintendent having his band of folks around him. And to your question, that's really the approach that I bring to my position. Is it's not about this one narrow piece of what we're doing inside the education organization. It's about what my team, because I'm not doing it alone. I know you know a lot about our organization. I'm blessed with just a great team of individuals inside the Human Resources Department to help move our work. It's by no means something that I would be doing alone. There's a lot of credit that goes to the folks that surround me in the work that we do. But we look at it as not something that stands alone. HR is one of those things that really articulates through every aspect of what we do in education. As you said, it's about the people. And so we have to look at it from that perspective. It's not necessarily about doing what I can to make HR successful. It's about what we can do as a team to make sure everybody else is successful in what they're doing for education, because we're all here for the students and provide them a very excellent education. But in order to do that, we need to equip our principals and our teachers and our paras and our food service workers, our custodians, everyone in the organization with certain things to make sure they feel comfortable doing their jobs. And so really, what our approach is, and I say our as our team's approach is to make sure that from a human resources, a human capital perspective, we're supporting the work that they're doing. It's not about the work that we're doing, it's about the work that they're doing and ensuring that we're doing everything that we can to make them successful on a daily basis.
Chace, if you allow me to.
Oh, please, please.
You left a very, let us say, prosperous and profitable career as a lawyer. and you decided to go into education. And this was a very brave decision, because you had to go back to school, leave your practice, that was, I think, in Kansas City.
Yes.
And leave your practice and come here and sit as a student in the College of Education to get a degree in education, and eventually you got your doctorate degree. That was a little sacrifice. Did you get enough support from the family about this decision?
I received a tremendous amount of support from my family and from my friends. And it was in some ways, it was a very easy decision. I've always been passionate about education, and so from what I wanted to do with my life perspective, that was very simple. But to follow my passion, and I had that support from my parents, and it's something I grew up learning from my grandfather and my grandparents. I have a very close-knit family that's all still in Kansas City. And so I grew up surrounded, knowing that education was important. And so when I said, you know what, this is what I really want to do, I want to go back and I want to be an educator, they were extremely happy for me. And knowing that I was going to do something that was going to make me happy, both from an intellectual standpoint, but also from a feelings, from an emotional standpoint, very rewarding. And so I had a lot of support there, but also I was in Kansas City, and I decided to return here to Iowa City to do my studies. But one of the pieces that helped me transition or made me make that decision was I was actually elected to a local board of education in Kansas City. North Kansas City, yes, that's correct. And so I had been elected in April, had been kind of bitten by the education bug, and I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life in every aspect. And so I quit practicing law in August and came back to school. But I felt a commitment to those students, to that district, to the superintendent and the folks in North Kansas City, that I didn't want to step off the board. And so I basically lived in two places. I kept a residency in Kansas City and traveled across I-80 and up and down I-35 at least once, if not twice a week, for 2 years, so I could stay as a resident in Kansas City, stay a member of that community on that Board of Education, and then make the drive up here week after week to get my degree. And I got a tremendous amount of support from people here in Iowa City. In fact, a man by the name of Dr. Bill Nelson, he runs the union for the university, provided me some space to live in his basement to make it doable, so I could have a home in Kansas City and have some place to stay here. And if it hadn't been for the support of Bill and my family in terms of making sure I had what I needed to get through that time, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So yes, that's a long answer to a very simple question. I had a tremendous amount of support to do what I needed to do.
And you feel that this background as an attorney really helps you dealing with issues in education. Now, we read every day about legal issues, and wow, I mean, it's everywhere now.
I do, and I get that question all the time of, if you wanted to go in education, why in the world did you go to law school? It can be so challenging, and I loved law school from the academic standpoint, and from that it really taught me how to think in terms of analytically and look at issues from different perspectives. And I think that that's the thing that's most beneficial to me. Yes, my practicing law and studying law, even though briefly, allows me to look at statutes and laws and have an idea of how to interpret them. But it's really that ability to think, and the way that law school taught me to think, that I think I treasure the most. And we joked earlier that I am by no means the district's attorney.
Right.
I tell them all the time, like, no, I stepped away from that. I use those skills in an educator capacity, but I leave it to our outside counsel when we have legal issues to really wrangle about. And it's nice to have that understanding, so I can communicate with them and talk to them about those things and bring that perspective. It helps me just bring another tool to the table in terms of what I bring to the superintendent's leadership team.
How do you balance your hiring process between the expert and the novice teacher?
We have a very unique system in Iowa City, and maybe not so unique, but very specific to our schools in terms of that with our teachers in particular, and almost all of our employees, the hiring's done at the building level. And so we provide our principals a lot of flexibility and freedom in making sure that the individuals that they hire are a good fit for their building, not just a good fit for the Iowa City Community School District, but a good fit in that specific building. And so when you talk about that balance between the novice and the expert teacher, that's something that from a general standpoint we're not dictating. We're not telling our principals you can only hire teachers out of right out of school, or you should be hiring teachers that have 10 years of experience. If we set those types of parameters, that would put us at a disadvantage, because you never know until you sit down and talk to somebody kind of what they're going to bring to the table. I mean, look at me. I come from a very non-traditional education background, and so I have that mindset of people are going to bring different skill sets to the table, and so you can't always look at one specific set of criteria and say that person's going to be perfect for any role. But the superintendent's made it very clear that our principals are charged to be the CEOs or the instructional leaders of their buildings, and so we have provided them, that autonomy somewhat.
Kind of decentralization, right?
Yes.
Sort of.
Now, we're gonna look at maybe making some changes in that area a little bit, and looking at some systems approaches, the things that we think we can make more efficient and more effective, because along with that comes the principal's responsibility that they spend a good amount of time in the hiring process. And really, if it goes back to our original comment about supporting their work, if my team can look at ways that we can reduce the amount of time that our principals are having to spend in reviewing resumes so they can focus on being the instructional leader, right, that's a win for the principal, and that's a win for us, because we're able to kind of reduce some of that work that they have to do that's on more of the administrative side, and lets them focus more on the educational instructional side.
It comes to my mind a lot that the professional development program, is it run by your office, or you are kind of oversee it?
That is actually the majority of our professional development comes out of Pam Ely's office. Okay. On the curriculum side. Of course, we all work together on those, on some of those initiatives, and I work with Pam and with the assistant superintendents when there's concerns regarding compliance with our negotiated agreements or things like that. But the substance of the program, no, that doesn't come from my office. That comes from our curriculum department, and they do a bang-up job.
Well, the reason I brought this up is the fact that with novice teachers, we have noticed that some of them will need to be prepared for the classroom setting, and to be prepared to deliver a lesson successfully, and be fair in grading and so forth. And that's why I think professional development may be working to help the young teachers, aspiring teachers.
And in the state of Iowa, and of course in our school district, we have a mentoring program for our new teachers, and so we do provide them some, professional development right out of the gate, above and beyond some of our general professional development.
You will pull me now to to a little bit critical point, because mentoring program, as I see the vision of not really the district, but the Department of Education, that Mr. Branstad philosophy and his department, and Jason Glass, they are thinking of pulling some expert teachers, someone like John Karoff, who's father of our program here, take him out of the classroom to teach young teachers how to teach math. Well, that's a little bit controversial, because kids will lose the expertise of John Karoff if he leaves the class. And I'm just using him as an example. Sure. Where do you stand here? I mean, how can we? I did ask Dr. Feldman before this question in particular, and she agreed that this is not. It shouldn't be on a permanent basis. Maybe a little bit, and then you go back to classroom. But we have to try to make use of your experience to benefit others who are looking forward to successful career in education?
I would agree. I think that we have to strike a balance. It can't be all one way or all one the other way. We do need to pull on the expertise of our master teachers and those that are showing that they're effective in the classroom. If you have effective practices, of course we want those to spread, but we don't want to take those away from the classroom permanently, because, as you said, then that's a disservice to our students. And so it sometimes is a balancing act to figure out exactly how do we make sure that we're continuing to develop all of our teachers in a way that's best not only for our teachers, but more importantly, good for our students, to make sure that we continually and constantly have the most effective teachers at the head of our classrooms.
I know that your transparency is essential in your philosophy, and as a team, this is crucial and a very integral part of your the way you run your business here. Now, suppose that I'm a teacher and I work in a setting and I'm not satisfied.
I'm sorry?
I'm not satisfied,
Oh, okay.
I'm not happy with my situation, and I want to move on to something else or change my school. What should I do in this course?
We always encourage any employee to talk first with their immediate supervisor, whether that's your principal or if you work at a physical plant with the director of the physical plant, the director of food service, in hopes that we can immediately help remedy the situation and figure out what your concerns are and what we can do to make the situation better for you. And of course, the doors of the HR office are always open, whether it's to come and meet with me or one of our specialists. We recently reconfigured our department, and we dedicated one of the individuals in the department as the HR specialist for certified staff and another individual as the HR specialist for classified staff. And that, of course, complements the divisions we already have, which is payroll and then our substitute services, because it allows our employees to have a better idea of really who they can go to directly to deal with concerns that they might have. And so we think that providing that reconfiguration will help, provide some clarity for some students, for our staff members, right, and for our employees. And so if you have a concern, I would invite any and all of our staff members to simply, call, make an appointment, or just swing by the office, our new facility up on Dodge Street, and just ask to spend some time with us and talk through what your concerns might be. You gave a very specific example, and as a school district, we have a number of negotiated agreements with our different employment groups, and that would probably, it sounded like a transfer example, would be something that the procedures would be outlined in the negotiated agreement. However, that's only half the story, and part of it is really just sitting down face to face and taking time with the individual to figure out, okay, what's really going on? How can we best support you and make sure that you're successful? If that's in the role you're in, that's great, and let's do that. If we think that might require a change, okay, let's explore what some of those options are. But simply looking at something on paper isn't going to get us where we need to go. It's having that face-to-face communication and developing some of those relationships across our entire employee groups.
Well, now you're dealing with a really rough work day. What do you do for fun? I mean, let me away from the papers and away from problems and
sure.
Schools and numbers and all that. What do you do for fun?
Luckily, as I have a supportive friend base here in Iowa City, because I was coming back to Iowa City, and so I have some friends
coming
here.
Home, right?
Yes, coming home, right? Coming home. Although I can only say that in Iowa City when I'm in Kansas City and say that my Nana doesn't like it. And I said that yesterday at the weekend. I said, I'm going home tomorrow. She goes, oh, Iowa City's home. I said, well, yeah, Nana, for now, Iowa City is home. And I like to just relax. I love to read and write, whether it's at a coffee shop on a Saturday morning or at home. And of course, I'm a big sports fan. I like to watch the Hawks. we didn't really talk about my undergrad, but I went to KU, so University of Kansas. So I'm a Jayhawk, and I'm also a Hawkeye. So you know, if I just say "Go Hawks," I'm protected.
Yeah.
But really, just I like to smile and I like to laugh. So just hang out with friends and really just kind of enjoy whatever comes my direction. I try to be as low stress as possible outside the office.
And when you leave the office, and I'm asking you these questions because you stressed in our production meeting putting this human face rather than recite numbers and statistics and showing graphs and all that, because people can see this in the board meeting if they are interested to look at graphs.
That's right.
Well, we are here talking about the human part, because the leadership, at least as far as we are concerned in this program, we are trying to give the human face of the leaders of this work and how this is reflected upon their performance in general. And that's why I asked you these questions, not to trap you, to tell me which team
unfortunately,
you're.
it's not that exciting. That's the unfortunate part. That it's not really that exciting.
When we met, you said when you were sitting in this board meeting in North Kansas City School District, which is a wonderful district, by the way.
Thank you.
I visited, and it's beautiful. And when you were sitting there, you said, and I quote you here, I wrote actually what you said. You said, "I found there my real passion." And so you don't regret at all about, leaving previous career, and offering this service to you.
No.
But why Iowa City in particular?
Because it's a tremendous school district. I came from a district in Kansas City that was really in a rebuilding mode. It had lost its accreditation. It was struggling with meeting state requirements. It was struggling in all sorts of areas, very urban school district, very high free and reduced lunch, very high poverty rates. And it's challenging work. And I don't shy away from a challenge. But when the opportunity came to switch gears a little bit, after I had done that work and done some of that very transformative of taking a school district that on all accounts was broken to one that put on the path to success, I said, okay, what's a different challenge that I could look at? And Iowa City is a very successful school district, but it's growing, and there's some tremendous opportunities here for us to make some change in very impactful ways on student learning as we look forward to educating kids in the 21st century. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be part of a district that was already successful and taking it to that next level of success, because in some ways that can be more challenging. When something is broken and anything you do to make it better, you're looked at and said, hey, you made it better. But when something is successful, and in education, Iowa City is one of the most successful, it's that much more challenging to say, okay, we are way up here, but now how are we going to get here? And it's exciting to think about those things and about the innovative delivery systems or for education, or the differences that we can make to really take us to that next level of education in Iowa City. And I knew Iowa City. I have some roots here from my time at school here, and it's a great community. That was important to me when I looked at where I was going to go next. Is it a community where I can see myself living? Can I have those social aspects? And Iowa City is definitely one of those places where I wanted to be here not just for the job, but I wanted to be here because I knew what Iowa City was, and I knew the great place it was to live. And so that was, on the personal side, as important to me as what I could do on the professional side.
I know that our parents are extremely supportive here. I mean, they can do whatever it will make their kids learn better. And a lot of them volunteer in various capacities in all activities throughout the whole system. But I don't see the business part doing the same kind of support to our education system. And the reason for that is that I visited Newton, Iowa, and Maytag was big there. And Maytag provided computers and facilities, printers, laptops, everything to each student in the alternative school. And I was impressed. Do you have any plans, you and your team, including Steve Morley and the others, do you have any plans to open to the business and ask them for some support?
That's a little bit outside of my purview.
Okay.
But as a team, I believe that the superintendent feels, and we feel that the business community has been very supportive of the Iowa City Community Schools.
And who do you think can make this foundation, of course, right?
Well, can make what?
The connection with the business.
Oh, I think that anybody can do that from the school district, the foundation, the superintendent, our individual schools, our PTOs at the schools. I think that really we need to look at it, as the superintendent has said, one district, one plan, one community, and looking at it from that perspective. That we believe that just like our parents, that the business community has been absolutely supportive, and we're always looking for new partnerships and always looking to expand that.
And we are looking forward to see you again here.
Well, thank you.
Because I see Mike Peterson started to be nervous and say, wrap it up. So I'm going to wrap it up and tell people that we are going to be on public TV, public access TV, Saturday at 2:30, and Monday at 7 o'clock. And then on the education channel, your channel, sir, after the board meeting, I think twice a week at least. We are on YouTube, and we are everywhere. And we are so delighted to have you here, and so proud of you, and would like to wish you all the best success.
Well, thank you, and I would love to come back and spend some more time with you
Thanks
sometime.
to you, sir. Thanks to the district. Thanks to John Karhoff and Mike Peterson, and all the family of Public Access TV.
Thank you.
Yeah.